So as a discussion, we are thinking of the two types of the angles. The first angle is the spatial angles, which represent the perspective of the present actions to the natural disasters using the economic management and interdisciplinary collaboration. So that is the present ones. And then also we have to thinking of the new angles, that is the chronological angles, not just the today's the planes, but also thinking of the past, the present and the futures. So this is the some snapshot that is the examples. So in order to conduct the problem, the solving about these natural disasters, at first we need the interdisciplinary collaborations. That is, for example, in my areas, the energy finance, so energy or engineering, environmental study are collaborated with the economic and finance and management. So that's why these collaborations are needed. And then also we are getting the information from the future session. They are thinking of the space weathers. So the geomagnetic, the induced currents is affected to the power grid. That is a very, very severe things. So that's why the space, the weather, the natural sciences have to make a collaboration with the economics and finance in order to solve the issues. On the other side, the flood is the same. So the hydrologist has to make a collaboration with the economics and finance. So that is the first angles. So the topic in the presentation is how to make the resilience to the extreme disasters. And then the energy finance can be considered as one of these interdisciplinary studies. It can be applied to the space weather management or the flood management. So this is a question. So what are the messages from your researches? Basically, the commodity finance or energy finance from your researches to enhance the resilience to extreme disaster. It's a very big pictures, but I'm very happy if you have any idea or what is your messages, please.
Now I understand that you are asking me some question. Okay, resilience. Yes, as I told you at the beginning of my presentation, that what I talked about, was not about existential risk. So economists are sort of very, well, sounds a bit nasty, but if I die, I die. That's it. If I survive and can do something, some interaction with somebody else, then in that case, we can do something. So thinking about something small level of disaster, I think it's very important for us to have to share the risk of the disaster risk. For example, for the Tohoku earthquake, well, Japan has earthquake insurance, and they exposed the government try to help the local governments, but that's still within Japan. If they had issued, say, cat bond that transfers the risk of the tsunami or a huge earthquake in Tohoku area, then some part of the risk could have been borne by non-Japanese foreign people. That would be helpful, and that make the those who suffer the damage more resilient. And so what I would like to say is that we can do more about risk sharing. But caveat is that it's not so easy.
Thank you very much. Stefan?
Yeah, let me pick up on that. I think let's start with finance. I think financial markets typically have a rather bad image. But I think it should not be underestimated that they also really contribute a lot to society. And I think especially in this field, if we think of food security or the survival of farmers, there's a lot of products that could actually be brought to the market, such as products for crop protection, weather derivatives. And typically there might be investors who are interested in investing these products if they offer a reasonable return. And they could, or farmers themselves, could buy weather derivatives to hedge their crop if there's a disaster, if there's a heat wave, if there's storms. Unfortunately, we haven't seen those things in the market yet. And one important point that you also mentioned is that there is this information asymmetry. Even if an insurance company offered these products, I don't think farmers would trust them because they cannot price this, or there's a lack of knowledge on really doing this. And I think we have a long way to go, but I definitely, given that we have to believe that there will be more catastrophes, I think financial markets can offer quite a lot of resilience, or at least products that will help to be more resilient.
Thank you very much. That is a very interesting point. So so far in this conference, we are just especially focusing on the hedging of the risk. But on the other side, risk had the opportunities, so the making the business chances. But that kind of thing are not discussed so far. So this is the present person and the finance and insurance thinking, or from the perspective of the businesses, what kind of the business can be conducted at the chance of these natural disaster events or the space weather events. Do you have any ideas about the business side?
I'm not entirely sure whether I understand the question correctly, but I think it would relate to what I've just said, that economics, finance, or financial institutions could potentially provide these products that offer, on the one hand, I mean, of course, risk is always seen as a negative thing, as you said, but risk is typically priced and offers also a reward. But of course, we need markets for it, and I don't think they're existing at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Because I always recognize that the risk is always considered as the negative things, and then also considered as the losses. But in reality, if determine the loss is not a risk, so the future uncertainty is a risk. But so sometimes these risks might become has to be hedged, but it also become the businesses that is a source of the opportunity. So such a balance is very important. I always thinking. So that's why I'm asking this kind of question to the presentators. And then next the questions. So I'm always struggling about in this the human survivability studies areas. I really understand my field, economics and then the finance, but on the other side, the collaborating with the natural science side. So it's very, very difficult to understand what kind of the behavior occurred. For example, now I'm looking at the electric, the induced wave, the currency, but I cannot understand it in the details. So maybe the collaboration is very important, but in reality, you understand the other the areas. It's very difficult. So but we also have to conduct the education for the student who understand the both areas. So the next question, the third question is how to conduct the education for such the student who both understand the different areas. So that is also my the problem. But if I have answered.
Well, this is a Japanese case, but compared with the appropriately educated Americans, the Japanese counterparts are much more negative to financial activities. That's my idea. Maybe that is due to the maybe culture, but education. That the education doesn't tell them that okay, you can utilize the financial activities to make society better. Like risk sharing is an important point, but it's a sort of abstract concept. A little bit difficult to understand. So, and need to educate from the children. And nowadays, it is not that only Japan, but also in the US or Europe too, in the Australia too, to protect one's life. It's very important to learn about how you manage financial activities. I always say that in the Japan's case, if a famous junior high school, private junior high school, say Kaisei or Azabu or NADA, give a test entrance examination about discount cash flow and option pricing, and indeed they can solve it, I believe. Then immediately all the mothers in Japan try to educate their kids how to solve and understand finance. And in 10 years, all the college graduates understand finance, and that kind of problem will be solved.
Yeah, that is a very interesting, inciting ideas because in Japan, and we are not sure that not so much educated for the economics and finance. So money is not appreciated so much for as education. But in reality, it's very, very important because we have to compete with the global persons. So globally, in the US or European countries, also including the Australia, the economics and finance are very important. So we have to stress more about that point.
The other day, I attended some presentation by some, I forgot her name, but a famous professor in University of Pennsylvania, and she was talking about how to educate finance to the ordinary people. And in fact, she said that many American people make a lot of loss because, say, I forgot, how can I say that? Just before they got their salary, it's a payday check. Just before they get their salary, they are short. When they are short of money, they borrow money from some finance institution, but so it's called a payday check. But the interest rate is huge, say 20% or 30%. So what is important is that for those people is to understand how awful they are charged, the interest rate they are charged. But to understand it, they need to be educated, and that if they understand it and don't do something silly, then their life could be happier. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just very briefly, in Australia there's a lot of research and effort being done on increased financial literacy among the Australian population. I'm not sure how successful that has been, but in terms of you also mentioned the collaboration between different disciplines. I believe that economics and finance are important, but we also shouldn't overestimate, or we could also believe that, well, if you get an economics education, you should also learn about other disciplines, and that's not really happening. I think, your graduate school, for example, is a great example. And or my university has recently established a climate change master where there's also a significant economic content, scientific content, and so these are great programs. But I think one problem on the research front is, and of course we're not able to change that, but it's very difficult to publish multidisciplinary research. And I think that is one of the reasons why there is not enough collaboration. This is definitely a field where you have to collaborate, but for example, myself, I know I'm struggling far more with publishing papers in this area because the finance journals would say, well, this doesn't matter. This is so small. And the climate change journals are going to say, yeah, what is this? We don't understand these financial models. We don't care. So this is very tricky, and I think the research community, and maybe we can all do a little bit of a share by being a bit more generous, trying to do more multidisciplinary research. As it comes to research grants, it's almost impossible in Australia to get a multidisciplinary project. I think those things need to change, and then that would also enhance actual research in those fields.
Thank you very much. That is a very important point. Our school has to make the platform to accept the multidisciplinary studies. So that might be the very important issues, and that we want to pursue in the futures. So the time is already passing. So before concluding the session, is there any comments or the question from the audience, Professor?
Yeah, just thinking about how to overcome the issue of the financial issue in the Australia created by the climate extreme. Sometimes, like the crop market will very much affected by the global precipitation overestimated the amount of the product. Or sometimes you cannot get the wheat market. I think it was happening, 5-6 years ago, when because of the few precipitation, you couldn't get enough crop market. And that case, and then the only few scientists was predicted, but many other didn't. So when you create something for this risk hedge, and there is a winner and there is a loser. And that kind of the extreme event, and if you can make some proposal or some, you told that if the risk is higher, so you have to invest faster, but we don't know exactly what you're meaning because our sense, if the risk is higher, so it's difficult to make investigation to put the money for that. So the feeling. What you're saying, how can we interpret what you're saying, and scientifically and economically, and also the feeling of us, and can you facilitate that?
Okay, I think there's two different issues. On the one hand, there's this investment into adaptation, and there I would just say if the risk of climatic change or caused by climatic change of natural hazards, if that risk is higher, of course we have to act faster in terms of adaptation investments. And I think that makes perfect sense. If the risk is lower, we can maybe afford to wait a bit longer and find out what the situation is really going to be, because the more certainty we have, the better will probably be the decisions we take. With regards to financial markets, I don't totally agree what you said, that there's always a winner and a loser. It's not a zero-sum game. And there have been a lot, if you look back 40 years ago, the options markets or the derivatives markets, these are markets that make perfect sense because they help people to hedge the risk. They help people to transfer or do optimal investment decisions. They were not that popular, but they've become so big and successful. Of course, we've also had other examples like credit derivatives markets that maybe caused the financial crisis. I think it was still human beings and fraud that caused that crisis, but some of it has gone wrong. But who tells us that a market for products like this should not work? It can work, but what is missing at the moment is liquidity, is participants in those markets, is knowledge, and that needs some time to be developed. But once this is there, I mean, we all use insurance, and we don't think really about the premium. Yeah, if you have car insurance, health insurance, do you really know whether the premiums are fair? The only thing is we do is compare different providers, and we just rely on the insurance companies somehow not to rip us off too much. Well, at least we should get to that stage that you can get insurance against all kinds of natural hazards, that there's many providers, that there is products traded, and then I think that is already a very good first step. But we're far from that at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the time is already 10 minutes plus. So just I want to give you some small messages to you. So in order to tackle with the disaster issues, the collaboration is very important. For example, that we are doing the energy finance areas, but that might be going to the hydrological finance or the space, the weather insurance or finance. These might be the key to make the solving the issues. And then that this area must be included in the all human survivability study or school is pursuing. So the collaboration is more important, but in reality is the education is difficult. So that is we have to tackle in the futures. And then finally, we don't talk much about the relation past and the present and the futures, but in reality, so the issues are very low, the probability, and then the high impact issues. So that might be, the event might be occurred in the history, and that will affect, but we have to judge the historical information are the important in the present or futures. So that's why in order to conduct the researches or the actions against the natural disasters, we are also thinking about the collaboration, but we also have to thinking of the chronological angles. That is also important phase. So that's why this year's conference conduct the 3 different sessions: future, past, and the present, including the interdisciplinary studies, like the wolf and the wolf of the things. Thank you very much.